Welcome to Embroidery Tool Tips. Our topic is Quilting in the Hoop with Kay Hickman.
Today we're going to talk about quilting with your embroidery machine. Traditionally, a quilt top is pieced and then a quilt sandwich is made with a batting layer sandwiched between the wrong sides of the top and a backing fabric. Then the quilt layers are secured together either by hand stitching or machine stitching. Hand quilting can be time-consuming. Machine quilting and free motion quilting can be challenging, but there's no need to worry anymore about that if we let the embroidery machine do the work. When we talk about quilting and embroidery, we often are referring to two different things. Oftentimes we mean that we are embroidering a design on a block. That will be done before the quilt is actually quilted, as it was on this beautiful Imperial Garden sampler created by Elaine Chabelli. But you can also do the actual quilting with the embroidery machine, and that is when the three layers of the quilt are secured together using an embroidery design. Nina McVeigh used a quilt-as-you-go type method and did all the quilting here that you see with the embroidery machine. These instructions for this particular quilt can be found on the BERNINA.com website, but let's take a look at the specific steps involved to quilt in the hoop. We want to choose a pretty thread. Polyester embroidery thread is ideal because of its strength and durability. Isocord polyester embroidery thread comes in many colors, and Isocord multicolored also has some beautiful shades that you might fit just for your quilt. If you wish for the quilting design to be very subtle, then choose a color close to the background color. If you wish for the design to take front and center, choose a high contrast thread. Then you will thread both the needle and the bobbin with that same pretty thread. If you're going to do a lot of quilting, you might as well go ahead and wind a second bobbin also before you start. You will thread the needle as you normally do for embroidery, following all thread guides, and attach the embroidery foot. With regular embroidery, the bobbin is tightened so that it pulls the needle thread to the back and creates a pretty top. But with quilting, we need a more balanced stitch so that the top and the bottom look good. So thread the machine just as you would if you were doing normal sewing. So depending on your machine, you're either going to leave the thread out of the little pigtail or leave it out of the bobbin finger, or if you happen to have the 8 series machine, then you will thread that for sewing and not for embroidery. And now choose a quilting design. There are lots and lots of choices. Those specifically labeled as quilting designs are ideal and should give you trouble-free results. This collection by Diane Godinsky is a worldwide renowned quilter. The fancy frills and feathers are her trademark. These are gorgeous quilting designs. You can find quilting designs on many of the BERNINA exclusive design collections. This collection has some truly beautiful stitched and applique designs. But there are also some outline designs that you could use in quilting. You could choose one of the single designs and repeat it throughout the quilt, or you could use the border and corner set from this particular collection. This collection was used on the Bohemian Rhapsody wall hanging created by Linda Winterreen. Linda used some of the designs as motifs and then added some of the coordinating quilting designs to quilt the layers together. Since these quilting designs coordinate with the stitched elements, it's a great way to carry the theme through the entire quilt. And now let's prepare the quilt for hooping. And there are basically two methods for this. One you will hoop the quilt, and the other will be the hoopless method. If the quilt batting is not too thick and you can physically get the quilt sandwich between the rings of the hoop, then I would suggest using this method. You will hoop just the quilt and will not use any stabilizer. So that means there is no stabilizer to remove from the back when you finish. So you will loosen the set screw on the outer ring of the hoop, and you want to loosen this significantly. The looser, the better it will be. Then you're going to hoop that quilt sandwich just as one unit. If it's not really easy to insert the inner ring, then stop and loosen that set screw a little bit more. If you have a mega hoop or a maxi hoop or a jumbo hoop, you'll be able to stitch larger designs and perhaps even stitch more than one design in each hooping. You will need to position the excess parts of the quilt so that it will be out of the way of the needle and of the arm of the embroidery module. So you're going to roll up any excess to the right of the needle. Then you're going to watch the back, the front, and the left, because you want to make sure that the quilt, if this quilt is heavy, it could drag and the machine would not stitch as well. So make sure that any excess quilt is supported well. Then you'll want to turn off the thread cutter on the screen of the embroidery machine as well as in the setup program of the machine. Bring the bobbin thread to the top of the quilt and then clip the thread after the machine takes a few stitches, and then you will just finish the design and repeat until you have all of your quilting designs done. But sometimes the quilt is just too bulky to fit between the inner and outer rings of the quilt. If that's the case, then you'll need to use method 2, which is the hoopless method. We're still going to use the hoop, but we're not going to hoop the actual quilt. Instead, we will be hooping a water-soluble stabilizer in the hoop by itself. Aquafilm backing is the lightest weight of the water-soluble stabilizer and is the easiest to remove. When you're finished, you will tear away as much of the stabilizer as you can. Any bits left between the stitches can be removed with water. So this means that you must be willing to wash the quilt if you can't get the stabilizer off. Use the hoop's plastic template to mark the center horizontal and vertical lines directly onto the stabilizer. And then you're going to very, very lightly spray the top of the hooped aqua film with a temporary adhesive spray. If you need a greater tack, then spray again, but only spray very light layers at a time and allow the spray to dry between the layers. You'll need to mark the center of the design. This may be at the center of a specific block, but if you wish to place the designs in a very specific place, it may be helpful if you print out the templates for the designs. Position the quilt over the hoop stabilizer, aligning the center marks on the hoop with those on the stabilizer. Then you're going to attach the hoop to the machine. With this method, it is even more important that you support the weight of the quilt as you embroider, because the only thing at this point holding the quilt to that stabilizer is just the temporary spray. Engage the hoop basting feature if your machine has that particular feature. That will also help to keep the quilt attached to the stabilizer during the stitching process. Just as with the hooped method, you'll want to turn off the thread cutter on the screen of the embroidery machine as well as in the setup program of the machine. You will bring the bobbin, thread, and clip it after the machine has taken a few stitches. Then you're going to finish stitching the design, step back, and enjoy your new creation. I hope that you will give this technique a try and enjoy quilting in the hoop.